For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering seasoned with salt. But if your salt becomes tasteless, what then will you season it with? The fire that seasons us. Baptism by fire, trial by fire. The trials and tribulations and challenges and tests that we go through in this illusion, in this mirage that we attempt to navigate around, that we attempt to go underneath or go over, that we try to move and groove and fake it all out in order to get by. Or we take those tests, trials, tribulations on our shoulders and we walk tall and strong and steadfast with them. But either way, the trials and tribulations and the fire of this world will show you who you are, will reveal you, and it will either destroy you or it will season you. And then there's the salt. You gotta love some of those old sayings. He's worth his weight in salt, to denote the quality and substance of a man. He's a salt of the earth guy. The depth and the character of a man who's a salt of the earth human being. Reliable, sturdy. You think about those sayings and then you think about what Yahusha says when he says everyone will be seasoned by fire, every offering seasoned with salt, as we offer ourselves to Yahuwah, Yahusha, so that we are saved, so that we are flooded with the Ruach, the set-apart spirit that guides us, animates us, motivates and encourages us, fills us with the set-apart spirit. No matter what time of the day, moving, grooving, electrified, inspired, encouraged, when you're filled with the Ruach, the set-apart spirit of Yahuwah, the Most High who breathes life, the Most High who brings into existence, the Most High who creates, that you receive in confessing that Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah, came in the flesh, asking for his forgiveness, instantly receiving it. Yahusha, the name, the Most High who saves, the Most High who delivers, the Most High who redeems. As he says, should our salt go tasteless, what then will we season ourselves with, in offering ourselves to him, committing our life to him, dedicating our lives to him, surrendering ourselves to him as an offering. For we're seasoned with salt. Salt, like fire, purifies. Salt not only purifies and cleanses, but salt preserves. It preserves the soul, it preserves the heart, it preserves the faith. Again, you think about those sayings, salt of the earth, worth his salt, salt so valuable, preserving, purifying. But how does the salt of our lives, the salt of Elohim, the salt of our character, how does it go tasteless? How can it go tasteless? By compromising. We all do it, we've all done it, we've all been there, we've all compromised. Throughout our lives, we've compromised in so many ways. We compromise our morals. We compromise our ethics. We compromise our character. We compromise our discipline. We compromise our steadfastness. We compromise our persistence. We compromise our discipline. We compromise our self-control. We compromise ourselves in every single way you can imagine throughout our lives. And we go along to get along. And in doing so, we water our character down. We water our persona down. We water the salt that buttresses us, that makes us sturdy, that makes us purified in the eyes of Elohim, in the eyes of Yahusha. It goes tasteless. It goes tasteless. And so we have to be on guard, because through our whole life, we've compromised. And then in coming to Elohim, coming to Yahuwah, Yahusha, because we've had enough of it. Because where has go along to get along gotten us? Where has being plain and bland and boring and tasteless gotten us? Without the vim and vigor and robustness and dynamism that is the true life, the way, the truth, and the life. Because up until that moment where we're on our knees asking Yahuwah, Yahusha to fill us with the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, the set-apart spirit, which instantly fills us with the bite, with the vim and the vigor, with the power of that salt that seasons us and that takes us through the rest of our days as we walk this narrow path to the narrow gate to the kingdom to come. But before we get here, we've been washed out, we've been rinsed out. All that salt wrung out of us because we've compromised all along the way till we've come here. There are those of you, including myself, who would say, no, I've got the discipline, I've got the self-control, I've got the persistence, I've got the determination, I'm full of motivation, I'm full of inspiration. But are you seasoned in your faith? Are you seasoned in your belief? Are you seasoned in your fealty to Yahuwah, Yahusha? Or is your salt tasteless, compromised in the eyes of Elohim, in the eyes of the Most High? Because you may be disciplined, you may be persistent, you may be dedicated and committed, but to what? To the flesh, to the ways of this world. It's just because you're disciplined in your training, disciplined in your diet, disciplined in your philosophy, disciplined in your stoicism, just because you're steadfast, just because you're all of those things, to what end? To what end? Do you have all the answers? Do you have what you're searching for? Or have you tempered your steel simply to wield it as a weapon of conquest, as a weapon to cut down, to slash and burn your way to the top of that mountain? And then when you get there, what? What have you found? Why do you continue to strive? You know why. Because you get to that top of that mountain with all your discipline, with all your salt, with all your seasoning for the ways of the flesh and the things of this world, and you get to that top of that mountain, and you find you're simply at the bottom of another. And so you keep yourself, the few among us who keep ourselves tempered, constantly trial by fire, persistent, unstoppable, relentless, ceaseless. We find we find that we're never satisfied. We find that we're never gratified. It's the only reason we stay determined and persistent, because we're constantly chasing something that we can never get our hands on. The answers, the truth, the way, the life. It's like trying, without Elohim, without Yahuwah, Yahusha, and the Word, it's like trying to grasp water as it flows through your fingers, trying to grasp sand as it flows through your fingers, trying to grasp air as it flows through your fingers. It's untouchable. It's unknowable. Because it doesn't exist. The promise of this world is false. It's an illusion. It's a mirage, a hallucination, like an oasis in the desert. Looks beautiful. Looks inviting. What a fantasy it is. Because it's not real. Nothing promised to you here, in this world, on this planet, is real. It perishes. It fades. Like a figment of your imagination. The moment you grasp it, it's gone. So you're never truly thankful. You have to fake it. It's why all these self-help gurus tell you, get a gratefulness practice. What hogwash. Imagine to have a thankfulness practice where every day you journal what you're grateful for. As if that gives you any true meaning, as if that gives you any fulfillment, as if that gives you any satisfaction, as if that means deep in your heart, deep in your soul, deep in your DNA, that you're truly grateful for what you have. The chance to breathe air, the chance to walk on 2 feet, the chance to share a message of love and healing and joy. The simple things. Are you truly grateful for them? I mean, in your heart, for what you have? Because if you are, why do you always want more? It's never enough. Clawing, scratching, cannibalizing, conquering, slashing, burning, dominating. Power grabs everywhere to get a little more, because it's never enough. It's never enough. What you have is never enough. And you always think you never have enough. But when you're in Yahuwah, Yahusha, you realize that you have everything you need. When you're hit with the Word and you see and know and hear the way, the truth, and the life, you have more than you could have ever clawed, scratched, grasped, conquered, and owned. Because you have Him in your heart. And your heart is seasoned. Your heart is true. It's purified, it's cleansed, and it's preserved for Him, for Yahuwah, Yahusha. Now you have purpose. Now you have meaning. Now you're at the top of the mountain, not the mountain you climb every day, get to, and wonder, what does it all mean? Where's it all going? When will I be happy? When will I be satisfied? When will it be enough? It's never enough. You get there, if you ever even get there, to one of these targets or goals or objectives you've given yourself that's a struggle, that you're striving for, and then you attain it and you realize, why am I not happy? I thought everything would change. I thought everything would be fixed. I thought everything would be right in my life when I got this, when I got that, when I reached this objective, when I hit that target, when I overcame that challenge, when I met this goal. And yet you're setting more goals, setting more targets. Your ambition never stops. Or you get dejected one too many times and you stop going for the top of a man-made mountain, and then you seek to escape. And how do you end up fulfilling yourself? I've said this before, whether you're at the top of the mountain and find that your life isn't right, your life hasn't been fixed, you haven't found all the answers, right? So what do? You fill that hole with celebration and revelry. You drink, you do drugs, you party, you constantly entertain yourself, you look for pleasure in the flesh, the cars, the bank accounts, the houses, the boats, the trips, as if that's going to satisfy you. And for those who aren't celebrating with revelry those small accomplishments to give them any meaning, because they have no meaning, so you have to celebrate these things with materialism because you're trying to feel something even though you don't. And for those who never get there, they do the same thing. You do the same thing. We do the same thing. In those instances where we don't get it, we've been rejected one too many times, dejected one too many times, frustrated one too many times. And so we give it all up. And then we drown our sorrows in a bottle. We drown our sorrows in pills, cheap highs, cheap thrills, cheap titillation. So whether you're at the top of some man-made mountain which has no meaning such that you seek it in materialism to give it meaning as a celebration, or having never gotten there, you escape with the same party favors. But instead of it being a celebration of drugs and alcohol and all the senseless entertainment, it's escapism to run from what you thought would give you happiness, but you never got there, only to find out that would never give it to you anyway. But either way, you're doing the same thing. But on the way to doing either, you've compromised yourself in the eyes of Elohim, in the eyes of Yahuwah, Yahusha. Because what is it that you've given up in either instance to get there at the top of your man-made mountain, or to wallow in your sadness and depression for not having gotten to the top of your man-made mountain? What have you given up? What have you walked away from? What have you rejected? What have you turned down? What have you compromised in your life? In order to gain the things of the flesh, or to run from your disappointment, you've compromised so many things. Least of which were the things that I mentioned. Your character, your ethics, your morals, your training, your diet, your persistence, your determination, your steadfastness, your hope, your motivation, your inspiration. You've compromised all these things in one way or another. Some have compromised some of them, some have compromised all of them. But the one thing we've all compromised is our belief in Elohim, our faith in Elohim. Because all of us throughout our lives at one point or another have rejected him, have turned our backs on him, have forgotten him. That's the story of humanity. That is why Yahuwah manifested in the flesh and came as Yahusha to save us from our sorrow, to save us from our hopelessness, to save us from our compromise, to save us from our weakness and our vulnerability. And then when you get here, when you realize that your man-made mountain has not made you happy, when you still find you have no meaning or purpose, or when you're frustrated, anxious, tired, and at the end of your rope, having escaped, having found distractions and diversions, either to run from what you've never been able to accomplish, or the distractions and diversions of your accomplishments. It's the same thing, just two sides of the same coin. When you finally had enough of it, and you seek salvation from your hopelessness, you seek salvation, redemption, deliverance from your hopelessness, or you seek salvation, redemption, and deliverance from the lack of meaning and purpose in your man-made mountains, you finally look for the one true value that lives forever in your heart. And that once you know it, you'll never compromise it again. Your salt will never go tasteless again. Because of two things. One, you'll be filled and asking for him to fill you with his life, his love, his glory, his redemption, his salvation, his deliverance, his healing, his peace, his solace, his joy. The encouragement, the inspiration, the absolute zest of that salt will never leave you for two reasons. One, you'll be filled with the ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, which will guide you and keep you on the path, seasoned and strong. full of vim and vigor and zest, encouraged, inspired, motivated for Yahuwah, Yahusha, for the word, for the way, the truth, and the life. And you'll know the way to keeping your salt full of vim and vigor and zestness. You'll know the way to keep your salt seasoned so that it never becomes tasteless, because you'll understand the single commandment that the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, will keep you focused on, which is to love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your fellow man as you love yourself. And in so doing, your salt will be strong. Your salt will be powerful. Your salt will preserve the Ruach. It will preserve your faith. It will preserve your belief. And it will purify your heart. It will purify your soul. And it will purify your spirit. So let us walk. Woo! Steadfast and true. Seasoned for Yahuwah, Yahusha. As we march, unstoppable, undeniable, unassailable, undefeatable, and uncompromised to kingdom come.